11 drug addicts lay motionless, victims of an unusually pure batch of heroin. This was no accident. It was a calculated move by the Lo Russo clan, defying the direct orders of the most powerful drug lady in Italy, Maria Licciardi. Maria, known as the Godmother of the Camorra, had built an empire through ruthless strategies, trafficking women, and orchestrating brutal murders. She had survived countless police raids, lived in luxurious hideouts with marble floors and jacuzzis, and even orchestrated the bombing of a prosecutor's office from behind bars. But this single act of defiance by the Lo Russo clan sparked a chain of events that would lead to her downfall. Why did a disagreement over heroin lead to the unraveling of one of the most feared crime bosses in Italy's history? And how did this power struggle plunge Naples into a violent war zone? When we think about the mafia, the Camorra isn't always the first to come to mind. Yet, this criminal organization, based in Naples and Campania, has a long and brutal history. Orchestrating as far back as the 16th century, the Camorra evolved from a gang protecting gamblers from the police into one of Italy's most powerful crime syndicates. Unlike the Cosa Nostra, which has a strict hierarchical structure with one boss at the top, the Camorra is more fragmented. Individual clans act independently, often leading to internal conflicts, but also making the organization more resilient. If one leader is taken down, another quickly rises to take their place. The Camorra finances itself through various illegal activities, from drug trafficking to extortion, maintaining a significant influence in the Naples region. Maria Licciardi was a part of this ruthless criminal organization. Maria was born in 1951 in Secondigliano, Naples, right in the heart of the Licciardi clan's territory. Her father was a well-known local boss, and her brothers were deeply involved in the Camorra. Growing up in this environment, crime was a part of her daily life. She married Antonio Tagami, another Camorra member, and like many women in the mafia world, her early role was supposed to be traditional, being a loyal wife, keeping quiet, cooking, cleaning, and raising children. But this was no ordinary family life. Maria's brother, Gennaro Licciardi, known as the Monkey, became a powerful figure, founding the Secondigliano Alliance, a coalition of clans that controlled various illegal operations in Naples. The 1980s and 90s were tumultuous times for organized crime in Italy. The government launched a massive crackdown, resulting in the arrests and deaths of many male leaders. This left a power vacuum that women, including Maria, began to fill. Her brothers and husband were imprisoned during the crackdown, pushing Maria to step up. She wasn't just stepping into any role, she was stepping into a war zone. Naples was rife with violence, unemployment in her neighborhood was at 70%, and the black market was the only economy. Maria proved her mettle by organizing meetings with rival clans, convincing them that the internal fighting was bad for business. She proposed carving up the city to avoid territorial wars and focusing on expanding their illicit enterprises like cigarette smuggling and drug trafficking. Maria's efforts paid off. Given her confident and efficient execution of her duties, she earned the respect and acceptance of other clan bosses, and more importantly, the foot soldiers who executed their orders. She soon became known as the Godmother of the Licciardi clan and the Secondigliano Alliance. Under her leadership, the Camorra became more organized and secretive, expanding its reach and power. Maria Licciardi wasn't just any leader, she was a force of nature. When she took control of the Licciardi clan, she faced a chaotic and violent Naples. Her first strategic move was unifying the 20 disparate Camorra clans under the Secondigliano Alliance. Imagine the mafia bosses sitting around a table discussing territory and power, while she, a woman in a male-dominated world, laid down her vision for a more organized and profitable future. She knew that constant fighting among the clans was bad for business, so she made peace, convincing other bosses to stop the turf wars and instead focus on expanding their illegal activities. Her leadership saw a significant rise in cigarette smuggling, drug trade, and racketeering. These operations brought in millions, solidifying the power of the Secondigliano Alliance. Maria's approach was often compared to Rosetta Cutullo, another infamous female mafia boss. Rosetta, the sister of Raffaele Cutullo, leader of the Nuova Camorra Organizzata, was known for her strategic mind and ruthless enforcement. Raffaele Cutolo, often referred to as the Professor, founded the NCO with the vision of creating a highly structured and disciplined criminal organization. While he orchestrated the grand strategies from prison, it was Rosetta who executed many of these plans on the ground. Her intelligence and decisiveness made her an indispensable asset to the organization. Rosetta's strategic mind was evident in her ability to manage the NCO's extensive network of operations. She coordinated drug trafficking, extortion, and other criminal enterprises with precision, ensuring that the organization's activities ran smoothly despite intense law enforcement scrutiny. Her ruthless enforcement of Cutolo's directives instilled fear and respect among the NCO's ranks, securing her position as a key enforcer. She was not afraid to resort to violence to maintain order and discipline within the organization. Those who defied her or the NCO's commands faced severe consequences, often delivered personally by Rosetta. Her reputation for ruthlessness was well known, and it played a significant role in maintaining the NCO's dominance during its peak. Both women shared a cold, calculating demeanor and an ability to inspire loyalty and fear in equal measure. Under Maria, the Camorra not only survived, but thrived, becoming more secretive and sophisticated and powerful. One of the most controversial and brutal changes Maria Licciardi implemented was overturning the Camorra's long-standing code against prostitution. Traditionally, the Camorra avoided making money from selling women, but Maria, being a woman herself, saw an opportunity. She struck a deal with the Albanian mafia to traffic women into Italy. These women, often promised legitimate jobs to escape poverty in their home countries, found themselves trapped in a nightmare upon arrival. The girls, many of them underage, were bought for around $2,000 each. Once in Italy, they were enslaved and forced into prostitution. To keep them compliant and prevent any attempts to escape or inform the authorities, the Camorra often drugged them. These women were subjected to unimaginable horrors, living in constant fear and under the control of ruthless overseers. This change not only expanded the Camorra's income, but also increased Maria's reputation for being as ruthless as any of her male counterparts. The trafficking operation was extensive and brutally efficient. The women were moved through a network of safe houses, constantly under surveillance. Any sign of rebellion was met with swift and often deadly retribution. Maria's leadership saw the Camorra grow in both power and infamy. Her ability to adapt and innovate within the brutal world of organized crime set her apart from many of her peers. But these successes didn't go unnoticed. The brutality and scope of her operations drew increasing attention from law enforcement and rival factions, setting the stage for the violent conflicts and crackdowns that would follow. In the spring of 1999, a major event shook the Camorra and set the stage for a violent and deadly conflict. It all started with a shipment of pure heroin from Turkey, an incredibly potent batch that would bring in massive profits but also posed a significant risk. Maria Licciardi, always the shrewd and strategic leader, recognized this danger immediately. She knew that selling such pure heroin could lead to a spike in overdoses and deaths, which would inevitably attract unwanted attention from both the public and law enforcement. She made the executive decision to prohibit the sale of this heroin. It was a calculated move to protect the organization in the long run, even if it meant sacrificing short-term profits. However, not everyone agreed with her decision. The Lo Russo clan, feeling increasingly marginalized and harboring hidden grievances, decided to defy Maria's order. Tensions had been simmering for some time as the Lo Russo clan felt that they were not receiving their fair share of power and profits within the organization. Their discontent was fueled by a perceived lack of respect and recognition for Maria, who had been consolidating her control over the Camorra. This growing sense of frustration and ambition led to the Lo Russo clan to take a bold stand against Maria, challenging her authority in a bid to assert their own dominance and secure a greater share of influence within the criminal hierarchy. However, what they did not know is that this act of defiance will not only put Maria, but the whole Camorra in danger. The Lo Russo clan started selling pure heroin on the streets. Just as Maria had predicted, the results were catastrophic. Within weeks, drug addicts began dying in droves. The month of April 1999 alone saw 11 addicts die from overdoses in the streets of Naples. This wasn't just a minor blip, it was a full-blown public health crisis that brought intense scrutiny and a furious public outcry. The deaths caused immediate and massive police crackdowns on the Camorra clans. Authorities, already on high alert, now had the perfect excuse to launch aggressive raids and arrests. The media went into a frenzy, highlighting the Camorra's role in the heroin epidemic and painting a grim picture of Naples' underworld. The Lo Russo clan's defiance not only led to public outrage and increased police action, but also sowed discord within the Secondigliano alliance. The unity that Mafia had painstakingly built was now under severe strain. The heroin incident marked a turning point, showcasing how a single decision or defiance thereof could unravel the carefully constructed power dynamics within the Camorra. This period saw the streets of Naples turning into battlegrounds. Guns, drugs, and brutal enforcement became everyday occurrences. The police raids were relentless, with many lower and mid-level members of the Camorra being arrested and imprisoned. These arrests only fueled the violence further, as rival clans saw opportunities to grab power and territory from the weakened Lo Russo clan. However, this wasn't only the Lo Russo clan's problem. The raids and internal conflicts were weakening the Camorra. Maria Licciardi, known for her calculating mind and strategic foresight, found herself in the middle of this chaos. She had tried to prevent this very scenario, but the defiance by the Lo Russo clan had brought it crashing down upon them all. In the aftermath of the heroin incidents, the streets of Naples were filled with anger and fear. The deaths of 11 addicts in April 1999 due to pure heroin sparked a public outrage like never before. Families mourned their lost ones, and the community demanded action. This outcry didn't go unnoticed. The Italian government and law enforcement agencies saw an opportunity to strike hard at the heart of the Camorra. The police launched massive operations targeting the Camorra. Hundreds of officers, equipped with the latest technology and intelligence, raided suspected Camorra hideouts, drug labs, and safe houses. These weren't just small-scale busts. They were coordinated, military-style operations aimed at dismantling the organization from the ground up. Arrests came swiftly and in large numbers. Street-level dealers, mid-tier enforcers, and even high-ranking bosses were rounded up and imprisoned. This intense crackdown had a profound impact. The Secondigliano alliance, the coalition of clans that Maria Licciardi had painstakingly unified, began to crumble. The unity she'd fostered gave way to chaos as leaders were taken down and rival factions saw opportunities to assert their dominance. The once stable and powerful alliance fragmented under the pressure of relentless police action and internal distrust. As the order vanished in the Camorra, chaos took over. The violence in the Secondigliano district escalated rapidly, with the power vacuum created by the arrests. Old grudges and new ambitions led to brutal confrontations. Gunfights became a common sight, with bodies piling up in the streets. The local population, already struggling with poverty and unemployment, found themselves living in a war zone. As if the situation couldn't get any worse, the Stampi feud erupted, marking one of the bloodiest chapters in the history of the Camorra. The feud was essentially a power struggle between factions loyal to Maria Licciardi and the secessionist groups that wanted to break away from her control. The violence was intense and unrelenting. Over 120 people were killed in the span of just a few months. This wasn't just about territory or money, it was a fight for survival and supremacy. The streets of Naples ran red with blood as rival gunmen hunted each other down. The brutality reached new heights with the murder of a 22-year-old woman, José Verde. José Verde's murder was not a random act of violence, but a calculated and brutal attempt to extract information. The incident began when José, who had connections to the criminal underworld through her ex-boyfriend Gennaro Natorno, was abducted. Natorno was a member of a secessionist faction that had split from the main Camorra group, and this schism had led to heightened tensions and violence. José was likely targeted because of her past relationship with Natorno. The rival faction believed she might possess crucial information about his whereabouts and activities. Her abduction was meticulously planned. She was taken to a remote location where she was subjected to intense torture in a bid to force her to reveal any information she might have had about Natorno. Despite the horrific ordeal, it seems José either knew nothing of value or refused to betray her former lover. This led to her brutal execution. She was shot 3 times in the neck, a method chosen to ensure a slow and painful death. Her body was then placed in a car which was set on fire, likely in an attempt to destroy any evidence and send a chilling message to others who might defy or withhold information from the Camorra. The public reaction to José Verde's murder was one of horror and revulsion. This brutal act, combined with the already high death toll, pushed the government to take even more drastic measures. More police were sent into Naples, and and the crackdown intensified. The authorities, now with a mandate driven by public demand, continued to target the Camorra's infrastructure, arresting anyone suspected of being involved in the criminal activities. Maria Licciardi, despite her strategic mind, found herself struggling to maintain control. The unending cycle of violence, arrests, and internal betrayals was too much even for her to manage. Her once unchallenged authority was now being questioned, and her allies were becoming increasingly unreliable. The Stampi feud marked the beginning of the end of Maria's reign. The law enforcement pressure, combined with the internal strife, set the stage for her eventual downfall. The pressure on Maria Licciardi and the Camorra was mounting from all sides. The public was outraged by the escalating violence and the drug-related deaths. The authorities were determined to dismantle the Camorra's operations once and for all. In one of the most significant crackdowns, an operation involving 1,500 police officers was launched, netting 52 gangsters in a single evening. This massive show of force was aimed at disrupting the Camorra's network and taking down its key players. Maria, however, was a master at evasion. She used a network of luxury hideouts, complete with surveillance cameras, marble floors, and even a jacuzzi, to stay one step ahead of the authorities. Despite the intense manhunt, she managed to evade capture for a long time. Her ability to disappear into the shadows earned her the nickname the Scarlet Pimpernel of Italy. She used her vast resources and loyal network to avoid detection, always staying just out of reach of the law. But the relentless police pressure and the increasing number of arrests around her made it clear that her days of evasion were numbered. Maria's ability to maintain her operations while on the run was impressive, but after all, she was only but one woman fighting against the government of Italy. Maria Licciardi's luck ran out on June 14, 2001. Acting on a crucial tip-off, the police finally managed to catch up with her. She was apprehended without resistance in the city of Melito di Napoli, a suburban area of Naples, known for its high concentration of Camorra activity. The arrest was the result of months of meticulous surveillance and intelligence work. Law enforcement had been intensifying their efforts to dismantle the Camorra's leadership structure, and Maria, being one of the most elusive figures, was a prime target. The breakthrough came when an informant, possibly from within the Camorra's own ranks or a rival faction, provided critical information about Maria's whereabouts. On that fateful day, a team of elite police officers moved swiftly and discreetly. They tracked Maria to a modest apartment where she had been lying low, relying on a network of loyalists to shield her from detection. Despite her notoriety and the extensive security measures she had in place, the police operation was executed flawlessly. Maria was taken into custody without any resistance, a stark contrast to the violent confrontation that often characterized Camorra arrests. The moment marked the end of her reign as the most powerful female boss in the Camorra's history. Her arrest was not just a significant victory for law enforcement, but also a powerful message to the criminal underworld. Even the most formidable figures could be brought to justice. However, the war didn't end there. Despite being behind bars, Maria's influence didn't wane immediately. She continued to command respect and authority within the Camorra. Maria ruled the prison as she had ruled her clan, maintaining a strict code of loyalty and silence among her followers. One of the most dramatic episodes during her imprisonment was the bombing of prosecutor Luigi Bobbio's office. Bobbio had been relentless in his pursuit of the Camorra and Maria Licciardi in particular. The bombing was a clear message meant to intimidate and deter him from investigations. Instead, it had the opposite effect. Bobbio was placed under police protection and continued his work with even greater determination. The attack highlighted the lengths to which Maria could go to protect her empire, even from behind bars. Maria Licciardi's incarceration didn't completely dismantle her network, but it did significantly weaken it. The continued arrests and prosecutions of her associates further eroded the clan's power. By 2009, Maria was released after nearly 8 years in prison, but the landscape had changed dramatically. Maria's release was not due to a single factor, but rather a combination of legal and strategic considerations. During her trial and imprisonment, Maria's defense team tirelessly worked to reduce her sentence through various legal maneuvers, including appeals and plea bargains. Despite her extensive criminal background, they managed to exploit legal technicalities and procedural delays, which ultimately contributed to her early release. Additionally, Maria's conduct in prison played a role in her early release. She maintained a low profile and avoided causing trouble, which earned her favorable reports from prison authorities. This behavior, combined with the overcrowded conditions in Italian prisons, and the ongoing judicial reforms aimed at reducing the prison population worked in her favor. Upon her release, Maria found that the Camorra had evolved in her absence. The organization had adapted to the new challenges, and new leaders had emerged to fill the void left by her incarceration. The once unquestioned loyalty of her subordinates had waned, as they had either been arrested, formed alliances with other factions, or seized power for themselves. Maria attempted to reclaim her position, relying on her reputation and connections within the criminal underworld. However, her influence was never quite the same. The new leaders were wary of her, and the younger generation of Camorra members had different priorities and alliances. Maria faced significant resistance as she tried to reassert her authority, and the power dynamics within the organization had shifted too much for her to regain her former dominance. However, she was not completely out of it. She did eventually rejoin the Camorra clan, which ended up going south. Maria had lost her knack, and the feds were onto her and had started tracking her dealings again. Her final arrest in August 2021 at Rome's Ciampino airport while attempting to flee to Spain marked the definitive end of her career. This time, she didn't bat an eyelash as the Carabinieri took her into custody. At over 70 years old, Maria Licciardi faced charges of mafia-type association, extortion, and receiving stolen money. The formidable Godmother, who had once ruled the streets of Naples with an iron fist, was now likely to spend the rest of her life behind bars. What are your thoughts on the story of Italy's most powerful drug lady? Let us know in the comments below. If you like our content, don't forget to check out the channel. We've got many more stories from the underworld to share with you. See you in the next one.